In the quiet village of Umuma, two sisters grew up under the same roof but lived completely different lives. One was treated like a precious jewel, the other was treated like a burden. Their names were Amara and Nneka. They shared the same father, but they had different mothers. Amara, the elder sister, had lost her mother when she was still very young. She could barely remember the sound of her mother's voice or the warmth of her embrace. After her mother's death, Amara's father, Chief Okoro, remarried. His new wife, Mbik, came into the household with a smile that made everyone believe she was a kind woman, but behind that smile was a heart filled with jealousy. A year after the marriage, Mbik gave birth to a beautiful daughter, Nneka. From the moment Nneka was born, everything changed. Nneka was treated like a princess, Amara was treated like a servant. Every morning before sunrise, Amara swept the compound, fetched water, washed clothes, prepared breakfast, cleaned the kitchen, and attended to Nneka. Yet no matter how much she did, Mbik always found something to complain about. "Look at this girl," she would shout. "After everything I have done for you, you still cannot do anything properly." Amara would lower her head. "I am sorry, Mama." Those two words became her shield. "I am sorry." She said them when she was innocent. She said them when she was blamed. She said them when she was frightened. And eventually, she stopped defending herself altogether, because whenever Amara tried to explain herself, Mbik already had a story prepared. One afternoon, Mbik placed a valuable necklace on her bed. Then she screamed, "My necklace!" The entire household rushed into the room. "My necklace is missing." Chief Okoro looked at his wife. "What happened?" Mbik wiped her eyes dramatically. "I don't know. But only one person has been entering my room." Everyone looked at Amara. Amara's heart began to pound. "Mama, I didn't take anything." Mbik shook her head. "I knew you would deny it." Chief Okoro's face hardened. "Amara." "Yes, Papa." "Did you take your mother's necklace?" "No, Papa." "Search her room." Amara's room was searched, and somehow, the necklace was found beneath her clothes. Amara stared at it in disbelief. "That isn't mine." But nobody listened. Her father punished her. That night, she cried quietly into her pillow. It was the beginning of something that would shape her entire life. She became afraid to speak, afraid to look anyone in the eye, afraid to make mistakes, afraid to defend herself. While Amara grew quieter, Nneka grew more confident. She had everything: beautiful clothes, expensive shoes, the best food, and a mother who constantly reminded her that she was special. "Your father has only one daughter," Mbik would tell her. "You." Amara would hear those words from the other room, and she would say nothing. Years passed. The two girls became young women. Amara had become gentle, hardworking, and reserved. Nneka had become beautiful, confident, and accustomed to getting whatever she wanted. Then one evening, Chief Okoro called his family together. "I have something important to tell you." Both girls sat quietly. Their father cleared his throat. "It is time for my daughters to get married." Mbik smiled. She had already begun dreaming about the kind of husband her daughter would have. A wealthy man, a respected man, a man who would make everyone in the village jealous. Soon, a marriage arrangement was made. A young man named Kolechi had asked to marry Nneka. His family was respected, and Chief Okoro approved the union. But when Nneka met Kolechi, she immediately rejected him. "I don't want him." Her father frowned. "You don't know what you are saying." "I know exactly what I am saying." She ran into her room. For days, she refused to eat properly. She cried, she shouted, she begged her mother, "I cannot marry that man." Mbik tried to comfort her, but Nneka would not listen. Eventually, Nneka said something that terrified everyone: "I would rather die than marry him." The entire household froze. Amara, who had been standing outside the room, had everything. She entered slowly. "Nneka." Her sister turned toward her. "What?" Amara looked at her trembling face. Then she said something nobody expected. "I will marry him for you." Nneka stared at her. "What did you say?" "I will take your place." At first, Nneka thought Amara was joking, But Amara was serious. She had spent her entire life sacrificing for her sister. This would simply be another sacrifice. The sisters secretly made a plan. On the wedding day, they would exchange places. Nneka would pretend to be Amara. Amara would pretend to be Nneka. Nobody would know, or so they thought. The wedding day, the village was alive with celebration. Drums filled the air, women danced, men gathered around the compound. Guests arrived dressed in their finest clothes. Nobody suspected that the two sisters were about to commit a deception that would change both their lives forever. Amara dressed in Nneka's wedding clothes. Nneka dressed in Amara's. When the groom's family arrived, nobody questioned the bride's identity. The ceremony continued, and before sunset, both sisters were married. Amara left with the man everyone believed was Nneka's husband. Nneka left with the man everyone believed was Amara's husband. Neither sister knew what awaited them, but the moment Amara entered her new home, she noticed something strange. The compound was enormous, the house was beautiful, servants moved quietly around the compound, luxury cars stood outside. Amara stared around in confusion. This cannot be. Then her husband walked toward her. Welcome home, my wife. Amara looked at him. She suddenly realized something. Kelechi was not poor, he was extremely wealthy. The man she had sacrificed herself to marry was a successful businessman who had deliberately kept his wealth private. He had wanted a wife who would love him for who he was, not for his money. Amara's heart raced. She had entered the marriage believing she was sacrificing her life for her sister. Instead, she had unknowingly walked into a life she had never imagined. But across town, Nneka's experience was completely different. Her new husband took her to a small house. There were no servants, no expensive cars, no luxurious furniture. Nneka stared around. This is your house? Her husband nodded, yes. She forced a smile. Oh, it's beautiful. But inside, her heart was breaking. She had believed she was getting the better husband. Instead, she had gotten the man she considered poor. That night, she cried. But she made a decision. Nobody would know. Nneka returned to her family several weeks later wearing expensive clothes. She carried new handbags. She wore jewelry. She bought a new phone. Everyone assumed her husband was showering her with money. But the truth was very different. Nneka was using her own savings to maintain an image. Whenever someone asked, "Your husband must really be taking good care of you," she would smile. "He doesn't allow me to lack anything." It was a lie, but the more she told it, the more difficult it became to stop. Meanwhile, Amara lived quietly with her husband. She never boasted. She never posted pictures of the mansion. She never told her family about the cars. She simply kept her head down. Her husband noticed her humility. One evening, he asked, "Why don't you ever ask me for anything?" Amara smiled faintly. "I have spent my whole life learning not to ask for things." He looked at her carefully, and for the first time, he began to understand that there was a story behind her silence. Months later, Chief Okoro organized a large family reunion. Both daughters were invited. Mbik was especially excited. She wanted everyone to see how successful her daughter had become. When Nneka arrived, she came with expensive-looking gifts. She handed her mother a beautiful package. "Mama, this is for you." Mbik opened it and gasped, "Oh, my daughter." Then Nneka gave her father another expensive-looking gift. Chief Okoro smiled proudly. "You have made me proud." Mbik turned toward Amara. "And what did you bring?" Amara quietly presented a small package. Mbik looked at it. "That?" Amara nodded. "Yes, Mama." Mbik opened it. Inside was a simple gift. She frowned. "Is this all?" Amara lowered her eyes. "Yes." Nneka smiled secretly. She felt victorious. Their parents praised her. They spoke about how fortunate she was, how wealthy her husband must be, how she had made the family proud. Amara sat quietly. She said nothing, but then something happened that nobody expected. A black luxury vehicle drove into the compound. Everyone turned. A driver stepped out. Then another car arrived. People began whispering, "Who is that?" A man stepped out of the first vehicle. It was Amara's husband. Chief Okoro stared at him. Big smile disappeared. Nneka froze. Her face became pale. The man walked toward Amara. He smiled warmly. "My wife." Silence filled the compound. Chief Okoro looked at Amara, then at the man, then at Nneka. His voice trembled. Amara. Who is this? Amara looked at her father. Before she could answer, her husband spoke. I am her husband. Mbik's eyes widened. Her husband. Then Nneka suddenly realized that the truth she had been hiding was about to destroy the perfect image she had built. Chief Okoro stood up. Wait. He looked from one daughter to the other. Something is wrong. The entire compound became silent, and then the truth came out. The brides had been switched. The daughter everyone thought had married a poor man had actually married the wealthy man, and the daughter everyone believed was living in luxury had been struggling to maintain a lie. Chief Okoro was speechless. Mbik could not even look at Amara. Nneka burst into tears. I was ashamed. Amara looked at her sister. You didn't have to be ashamed. Nneka covered her face, but everyone thought I was successful. Amara replied quietly, and you thought I was nothing. Those words silenced everyone. Chief Okoro's eyes filled with regret. For years, he had believed the stories his wife told him. For years, he had punished the daughter who had done nothing wrong, and now he finally understood. He had failed his own daughter. He walked toward Amara. My child. Amara looked at him. I am sorry. For the first time in her life, the man she had spent years trying to please was apologizing to her, but Amara did not celebrate her sister's downfall. She did not insult her. She simply said, Papa, I never wanted anyone to suffer. I only wanted to be treated like your daughter. Her father broke down. That day, the family learned a painful lesson. Never judge a person's life by what they show you. Nneka had spent months pretending to be wealthy while drowning in shame. Amara had lived quietly while unknowingly enjoying the blessing everyone thought belonged to her sister. And the stepmother who had spent years humiliating Amara finally realized something even more painful. The daughter she had treated like a servant had become the one everyone admired. But the greatest surprise was still waiting, because when Amara's husband discovered how she had been treated throughout her childhood, he made a decision that would change the family forever, and this time, Amara would no longer remain silent. Did you enjoy the story? Tell us your thoughts about this story in the comments section. Please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification button so you don't miss any of our stories.